What's going on, people? Welcome back to Mandem Football. And today, I have to say, there is a player out there that I have been speaking very highly about. And I am very, very, very surprised that he did not go to a bigger team because of how good he is. I am shocked that it's taken people this long to realize just how good of a player he really is, right? Because when I say this player's name, it's not going to come to a shock because he's clearing the headlines right now. But when I say this is the best striker in world football, he's the best player in his position in the world, you know who I'm talking about. It's not Mbappe, it's not Lewandowski, it's not Harry Kane, and it's not Erling Haaland. It is the Swedish man himself, not Alexander Isak, Viktor Gyökeres. This guy is unbelievable. I'll say it again. This guy is truly unbelievable. He's going to be the next big thing. I will say that it occurred to me last season, around this time last season. I heard of his name because I heard that this guy was absolutely killing it in the Portuguese league. And I'm like, Viktor Gyökeres. Okay, one of those players where you hear about, heard about him, like Openda, Viktor Gyökeres, Jonathan David, many of these players that are absolutely killing it in their respective leagues. But we'll see how far they'll be, maybe later on into the season. Let's fast forward maybe up until February and March of this year. So a few months before now. He had more goals than games played in practically all competitions, right? He is outstanding. He's unbelievable. This man had 43 goals in all competitions last season with 15 assists. 15 assists as a striker. Do you know what that means? He had more goals and assist contributions than games played all of last season for this man. And now this season, you're telling me that he has 16 goals in 11 games played for Sporting in the Portuguese league. Also, not to mention that he just scored a hat-trick against Manchester City in the Champions League. Come on. I mean, seriously, come on. Has anybody watched this guy? Has anybody seen this guy over the course of last season and now? He's the best striker in world football. I don't care if he's playing in the Portuguese league. I don't care what league it is. He is in Europe absolutely killing it against the top elite teams. And if it's God knows what, Manchester City again, if it's Bayern, if it's Real Madrid, Barcelona, Arsenal, Liverpool, he's gonna kill you. He's absolutely going to murder you. It is murder she wrote. Yeah, it is absolutely a demolition when you give him the time of day. This is the only striker that I see in football now that goes against the usual striker that we'd see in our day and age, right? We usually are more accustomed to strikers, right, that, are modeled around how the coach wants his team to play. So a lot of the strikers that we see nowadays are not like the peak strikers that we're used to maybe 10 years ago, right? We're talking about elite transitional attackers, players that break the lines easy, players that create something out of nothing, right? We're talking about machines. Okay, I'm talking about peak Jamie Vardy. I'm talking about peak Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I'm talking about peak. Who else is in that category? Kun Aguero, right? I'm talking about peak, quick, fast strikers that create their own goals. Their own goals. If they get the ball from the halfway line and they have the room and they have the time and the space, they're going to absolutely take it. If it's a 1v1 in a tight area on the pitch, they are going to find a way and beat you, right? This guy is 6 feet. He's about what, 6'1"? 6'1", strong, powerful, fast. He has everything to his game. He can dribble the ball, which I rarely see with strikers right now. Rarely do I see a striker that can move the ball with his feet like that. Not like Viktor Gyökeres, right? You know, there are great technical strikers out there. You know, maybe Mbappe, if you want to consider him as a striker. You know, Gabriel Jesus is an excellent dribbler with the ball, but not like Viktor Gyökeres. Not like this guy. And not to the extent that he has so many other dimensions to his game that complement all in one package. Like, he's the ultimate package striker. I don't see how anybody can not want this guy. I don't see how not one team want to put in the money for him. I mean, maybe if it's Sporting that, you know, have such a high price tag, but based on what I saw, he's worth 70 million euros. You know, that's his transfer market value right now. But it just really depends on what Sporting want for him if he's going to go to a bigger club. But when I say that this guy is the best striker in the world, mark my words, he is the best striker in the world. And I think it's an absolute crime. It's a crime that this guy was not nominated in the top 30 Ballon d'Ors nomination list. I think it's an absolute crime. There are so many players that were not nominated on that list and were not put on there. But man, when I say Viktor Gyökeres is the best striker in the world, and he's going to be the best striker if he's not already officially crowned the best striker, because we all know everyone's going to say Haaland, but believe me, he has more to his game than Erling Haaland. And a lot of players do, right? A lot of players do. It's just Haaland scores goals when need be. But this guy is a mix of basically everything that we've seen as a striker amongst his, you know, competition that's there in his position. And I can promise you this, if you are going to ask if this guy can play as a false nine, if you're going to ask if he can drift out on the wing, if you're going to ask if he can, you know, do all these different instructions, right? It's not about that. It's literally about a player in his position that can define the tactics that are put against him, right? For example, like an elite dribbler, say like Jamal Musiala, who else? Eden Hazard, Mohamed Salah, right? Lionel Messi. These elite dribblers with the ball, right? They define the tactics, because nothing can really break down how many times you want to train and try to stop this team from doing so. As soon as they get the ball, all tactics go out the window. All it is get him the ball, get the ball away from him. That's all that matters, right? So there isn't really anything tactical to really beat a player like that. But that's what I'm talking about here. It's the same principle, right? If you have a player like Viktor Gyökeres, a player like Erling Haaland, a player like Mbappe, these unstoppable forces of nature, right? There's no tactic. There's nothing that you could do to stop this guy from beating you and scoring and doing all these things. It's like watching any other athlete in a different sport. Say, for example, Michael Jordan in the NBA, right? It didn't matter how many times you practiced and trained in order to beat Chicago Bulls and to stop Michael Jordan. You weren't going to stop Michael Jordan. Now, you might beat the Bulls. You might beat Stephen Curry in Golden State. You might beat LeBron James with the Cavaliers. He doesn't play for the Cavs. But I'm saying in his prime, and even now you can say with the Lakers, you're not going to beat LeBron. You're not going to beat Stephen Curry. You're not going to beat Jason Tatum, right? These are unstoppable forces of nature players, once in a generational talent players. But Viktor Gyökeres and his development has led him to be such an unstoppable force of nature. He has everything part of his game to do so. So the fact of the matter is that if this guy isn't being given enough credit already for what he's already done, it's a matter of time till he goes to a massive club that obviously needs him, right? So the teams like the striker market is very tight right now in football. So if he wants to go to a team where he's going to play and they need a striker, well, the two teams that I'm looking at without a shadow of a doubt is Arsenal, right? And Manchester United, right? Who knows? Manchester United, they have strikers. He has openly said they have strikers, right? With Ruben Amorim, that would be a great duo. That would be a great reunion that most people would want to see. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of where he wants to go and what he wants to achieve. Because I know for sure that if he goes to a much bigger club than Sporting, although Sporting are a great team right now, he is going to be an unstoppable force, and there's nothing that any team could possibly do to really stop him once he keeps going. Because he can score goals like Erling Haaland, and I think he can score more goals than Erling Haaland. I think he has the pace of Mbappe. If it's not as fast, he's more than fast enough for a striker. In this day and age, in this game, he's more than fast enough to do it. He has the dribbling ability that reminds me a lot of Luis Suarez, right? When he was playing, his dribbling ability was very under the radar. But when you see him with the ball at his feet, he can create anything that he wants. He could beat one player, he could beat two players. And he just has the clinical ability of any elite striker before him, and that's going to come after him, right? He's unreal. He scored the most goals farther than anybody last season, right? So it's just a matter of time till, he's declared like undisputedly, if this is like the UFC, as the best striker in world football, because he is the best striker in my mind, and he's been the best striker in my mind since over the summer, right? It to me is just a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. And what he's doing with Sweden right now, him and Isak and other players that they have, maybe Bergvall, who's a very good player, by the way. He plays for Tottenham Hotspur, right? Sweden look like they're coming back. They look like a decent team that can do things. And if you have Isak and Viktor Gyökeres in that team, oh my gosh, whoever's playing as a 10 must be licking their lips every single day, because it's just going to be a nightmare for teams. So, yeah, man, I just don't understand how Viktor Gyökeres is not being given the credit that he's given right now. He's the best striker in the world for me at the moment, and hopefully in January or so he goes to a bigger team, and whoever that team gets him, it's a rude awakening. Thank you, guys. That was the video for today. I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a good night. Peace.